All right.
It's happening.
We'll wait and give people a chance to hop on quick.
All right.
Well, we have your dad on.
And what was the nickname on that one again?
Brown Charlie.
There it is. Hello.
Whoa, he's sound like Hans. Evening, folks.
Oh, Lord. All right, guys. Welcome, everybody, to the X Rock podcast. My name is Tiffany Andrews. I am your host, and we are brought to you by JM Rigging, Brannick Motorsports, Jesse Haynes Fabrication, Radial Dynamics, 386 Fab, All Extremes Off-Road, Wheeling for Warriors, Black Bear Electric, Mother's Off-Road Recovery Motorsports, Sheet Crawls, and Kincaid Fabrication. Tonight, I got back my co-host, Little Charlie Melchner of Melchner Motorsports. You know, it's hard to remember that one sometimes. And our guest tonight is Brian Mallick, one of our sponsors of All Extremes Off-Road. Brian, what we like to do with our guest is kind of give us a little idea of like how you kind of got into this off-road world.
Oh man, the off-road world. So, a couple of my buddies back in the day had some Jeeps, and just as so my age, they were mostly YJs, still square headlights. So we used to go thinking off-roading was finding the biggest mud hole you can hit it as fast as you can, and see if you can make it through, and then everyone gets out and grabs a strap and pulls you out when you don't make it. So started off as, the whole mud lover, and I feel most people do start that way. And then as our taste develops, we start getting into the more technical aspects of it, where we hit smaller mud holes, couple rocks, less mud holes, bigger rocks, and hopefully no mud and large rocks. We have proven most competitions, mud holes are almost, it's a necessary evil because it always rains competition weekend. So I honestly don't recall how I got involved in SLRC. I went down the rabbit hole one night on Facebook and saw a post from this on God knows where. And I was like, this looks like a lot of fun. So I conned my buddy Tyler into it, and we showed up 4 years ago at famous Reading, and it's been history ever since. We got the bug, we got addicted, and we just keep pushing ourselves a little further and further each time. And as money allows, better and better buggies so we can do dumber things.
So that's one thing that we didn't talk about, or I didn't mention in the beginning, is you are a competitor as well, not just a sponsor for the X Rock series, but you're also a sponsor and a competitor for our sister amateur series, SLRC.
Correct. I got the SLRC bug, and it took me from my gold TJ on 35s to the gold TJ on 37s to Crawley on 42s. So it's just been an addiction ever since. And, all about growing the sport. At the end of the day, I want everyone to enjoy this as much as I do. I didn't think that it was going to be as fun as it is. And everyone is just so damn nice at the end of the day. It is our family. I see you guys on the competition circuit more than I see a lot of my extended family. And most of the time it's actually not a bad thing, but I enjoy it a lot. And, I wish that we can, show more people how we do it and bring them in, and they're going to love the sport as well.
All right. So how did All Extremes Off-Road kind of like, you started as a competitor, how did you become a sponsor?
Well, the sponsorship was just, out of growing the sport and out of seeing the necessity of someone to kind of help out on the X-Rock portion of things. Great friends with Leah. She's been doing my social media from She Crawls. And, we got to the point where they were talking about the season might not happen. So it was, time to, help out a little bit that I could, try to, put up a couple finances for you guys and get the purses up there so we can have the competitors come out and do what they love to do as well.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for that. That is something that people might not realize that. I mean, obviously, they know we do the $10,000 payouts for X-Rock, but our sponsors aren't just giving out publicity. They're giving us money to be able to put out these big payouts so that Hans and everyone behind the scenes can do all of this. And I know the first event, it helped me out because I won. But it's really amazing. It gives everyone a really nice shot to really makes it more professional, and that's what we need.
So how much of that did you get percentage-wise between you and Big Charlie?
I got a rock crawler that I have.
Ah, very nice.
Yeah.
Makes a couple payments. I like that.
Yeah, but these events are awesome. I know that I only started in X-Rock. I've only been here for, was it my third year maybe? If you started 4 years ago, and that was when I had a Roush Creek, so it's probably my third year then. So you said you started going into.
This will be your third time at.
Oh yeah, this will be my third time at.
This is your third New Hampshire.
New Hampshire, yeah, Field and Forest. So Brian, you said that you started SLRC in, what was it, a YJ you said, or a TJ?
I started 03 TJ. Still got her.
Yeah. And
I'm creative like you, so she's Goldie because she's golden color.
Yeah, that's the only way to name stuff.
Right, absolutely.
So how long did you compete in that before you got an actual built buggy?
So I was only in that rig for 2 seasons, and I honestly probably would still be wheeling it if the street class didn't disappear. So out of necessity of the love of competition, we had a time to step up and find a buggy. And, I found one pretty close to home, met Jeremy Ingram from 386 Fab. He sold me that buggy. We became great friends ever since. He has answered every question about that. According to Hans, that was an old Wasp chassis that Jesse Haynes had his hands in way back in the day, circa 2003. So it had a pretty cool lineage to it. So definitely love piloting that thing. But in the same note, I was allowed to tell everyone street class is coming back next year.
That's going to be awesome.
I was informed today. It's official. We will have a street legal class again. That's
going to be amazing because that's really the one thing that we really needed. SLRC was street legal. Now it's the amateur series, but there are so many people around who don't have built buggies that want to get into it. They have their Toyotas with big wheels and tires and axles and all that stuff in it. And they want to be able to come out and play with the big guys and have fun. And that's going to be an amazing opportunity.
Yep, that's the best stepping stone you can ask for. If you throw somebody into the wolves with you guys, probably wouldn't fare too well.
Yeah, and I mean, once you throw everyone into any rock crawling competition around the big buggies, they're doomed from then. They're
right. It's worse than a boat.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm like totally distracted here. Well,
They have an
Pete
effect.
says that if little Charlie can do it, anybody could do it. So
Yeah. I don't know, Pete. I mean, you have that buggy that you've been working on for a few years now. That's like, it's running and driving now. Just got to finish building that front drive shaft for it, and you'll be on your way. I mean, there's no reason you can't have it done by the next X Rock and enter it. Unless you think it's too pretty to get all scratched up, because that rig is beautiful. But I
it's
don't
a
know.
pavement princess.
I will say,
Fired.
if he brings it out to a KOH, I used to always joke around. His old buggy used to not be able to make it up the sand hills, and mine can't make it up the sand hills, so we have to tow him in Big Silver. So I used to always friend with him about that. Now, yeah, it is for said, but I don't know. I think once he drives it around when it's set fully, I don't know if he's gonna want to sell it. Thing's really nice. Put a lot of time into that.
Now, if we only had a sponsor like Tom Woods or something for drive shafts, right? Wouldn't that go hand in hand?
I don't know. We tried telling Pete about it, but he wants to make his own stuff. Oh, it was a clogged air filter. That's why you couldn't get up the sandhills. So,
Next change.
Brian, let's get to you. So, you have an off-road shop, obviously. So, how did you start that?
Oh, so to date myself one more time, about 17 and a half years ago, I graduated from Mount Union College. Yeah, that was before you were born. Correct. Yeah, your math is on point. I graduated with a computer programming degree, and that did not take me very far. I don't sit still well, so that's one of the problems of programming. You kind of just have to be sitting in front of a computer 8 hours a day, and that doesn't work for me. So my parents always joked that I would be a mechanic. I always played with the Matchbox cars, the RC cars, and I'll be damned if they're right. I became a mechanic and been loving it ever since. We started doing mostly 12-volt audio stuff, those banging vehicles with the sound systems in them. It's kind of coming back a little bit, but not like it was in the early thousands. And building I leased off of a company used to be a truck accessory business, and every time people would call me up and ask for more truck accessories, and I'd turn them away and realize that was a poor business model, that if people are calling you for product, sell them something. So we went ahead and found a distributorship for all the truck stuff we do, and it just grew ever since. And the love of Jeeps just kind of went hand in hand with that. So now we get to build some fun stuff, not as much as I'd like, just because of lack of space and a little bit of time, but occasionally we get to put a cool build together. If you guys seen the 55 Willys that my spotter drives around, we built that frame off. It's got a little 4BT Cummins in it and a bunch of random Jeep parts we had laying around. So AutoZone absolutely hates us if we call them up for parts. But that's how the All Extremes avenue started, and luckily it has done well enough to allow me to get the more economical buggies and play in this little baby league from you guys.
So, do you build a lot of custom projects there, or is it mostly like lift kits, oil changes?
It's 70% bolt-on stuff.
Okay.
So we stay away from like the mechanical, like the oil changes. Typically, we don't get into that unless it's a good friend, or if the project is big enough and warrants it, then we'll get into it. But doing a lot of like tubing bending, a lot of fabrication, welding. That's the part I really love. So we get to do that quite often, but I wouldn't be upset if we could make a bigger run at it. But the shop size is what's limiting us currently.
Yeah, that's great.
So you say about
You could talk.
you said about the fabrication part of it and everything, and I also want to bring that up that you do also make, and I believe this is inspired by Little Charlie. You make the SLRC trophies as well.
Yes, that is also part of the sponsorship. Is we make the SLRC trophies. So wanted to do a couple wall hangers for everybody because I can't remember if it was last year, the year before, or possibly both. The trophies were non-existent, so I figured step up a little bit and put something together for the guys. And luckily enough, I have come home with a couple of my own trophies. And the ones I didn't come home with, I will just make my own as well, just so I could feel better about myself.
Yeah, I forget, was it last year I think it was last year's Field and Forest event when I made the trophies? Because Hannah, my sister, competed in it, and I realized that they don't have trophies for this. And you might say you're in the baby leagues or whatever, but you guys are doing some hardcore stuff, and it's awesome, and you guys deserve trophies for it. So I decided I'd go home and make stuff. They weren't super top notch and technical, but I did my best on them, and I boxed them up and sent them out to the top 3 people. One of them was my sister, so I just walked downstairs and gave it to her. But I stripped out the other ones. And, I thought they turned out pretty good.
Yeah, I do believe I remember your sister beating me last year. Yeah, that's yep, I do remember that.
Yeah, that was fun to watch. I remember I was out trail riding with Danny, and I got a call that she was about to go up, and I don't know where I am over there because I've only been there for the competition, so I'm just following Danny. And then eventually we both get to a part where we're just, where are we? And then we find, I think it was Caliph and 2 other guys, like something had happened or broken down on the trail, and they were there. And I'm like, do you know how to get to the campsite? And they're like, yeah, it's right down this hill. And I got down there, I rushed down, and the person who was before her was flipped over, so I had another like 15 minutes to wait. But no, it's a fun watch. If you guys can get out there and watch that. I know it's same day as qualifying this year. Last year was the day after the main event. If you guys can watch that, it's a really cool event.
The terrain really is wicked out there at Field and Forest. I would love to be able to do a little more fun wheeling there. It has not been in the cards yet. The last 2 years we've been there. 3 years? Last 3 years we've been there. And hopefully we can get out today with you guys and see some more of the park other than the 2 comp courses.
Yeah, it's I've heard that it's the hardest place on like Earth. Maybe even when the Mars rovers came out and they showed the foot of Mars. I mean, maybe even the hardest place on Mars too. Now
I would probably agree.
It's got some pretty hard stuff. It's fun. But yeah. So speaking of these off-road parks, what you consider your home park that you usually go to?
So as far away as it is, I think our home park would either be considered Roush or AOAA. Still 6 hours from us, but that would be the closest thing that resembles a true park. We have a little park that's open 1 weekend a month up by us, but typically a Jeep on 33s would have a whole lot of fun, but the crawler doesn't get hung up too much out there. We have another park, Wellsville, that's in southern Ohio. That gets pretty rowdy, and no holds barred at that one. I know Dale goes down there quite a bit. Brent McGinnis goes down there quite a bit. David Books goes down there quite a bit. So I'd still love to meet up with those guys, and maybe if you guys want to make the journey to southern Ohio, come out and maybe we can make a weekend of it. I think that would be a good time to get you guys out into Ohio so you can see the 3 mountains that we do have here. The rest is flat farmland. but the park's a lot of fun. We were there last weekend, hit a couple things. I think I found Danny Benner's lime green hat there, so I think he snuck away and came and wheeled there without us one time. But he has a new hat, so we're good.
Yeah, we'll get together and go wheeling sometime. We just everyone has so much going on. I mean, I haven't been trail wheeling since Leah Hockman her She Crawls event. That was the last time I went trail wheeling. Other than that, it's just the competitions. And I know that when is it? It's either X Rock or We Rock. One of them, the day after one of them, I have to go right home for one of my big tests that I missed because of the first X Rock event, which the makeups are the day after one of these events. So I gotta get home. I can't even stay in trail wheels.
So you're home for a day, then you're off to New Hampshire then?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it's been quite a busy summer doing the dual competitions between We Rock and X Rock / SLRC for sure. Putting some miles on the rigs, putting some miles on the tow vehicles, and getting out there and playing.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was far from a lot of stuff, but hearing that the closest real places from you are 6 hours away, that's definitely going to put a toll on everything.
Right. And, I would love to, I wish there was someplace closer so I can get a little bit more seat time, get a little more comfortable with the rig. So I guess the only next step would be to get a more capable rig to make up for driver talent. I think that would be the next logical step, really.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you could figure something out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we could always build something.
Pete's selling his buggy.
That's true. And maybe we could find an XJ for him to trade him. Maybe he'll trade straight up.
Man, that thing is. We were looking at Pete's buggy the other day because he was making me a new shifter handle because my old one was like solid copper and it was like 2 pounds. So the thing was it was so heavy when it was falling in and out of gear. So he made us a lightweight aluminum one, and it's got all fancy holes in it, a bunch of triangles. And we've gone over to pick it up from him, and I think that's the first time I saw his buggy like fully together, like running and everything too. But that thing is amazing. I really wanted to get out to one of the events with it soon.
So what are the odds that it comes out and does one of the events? I believe he's on here, right? He can let us know if he plans to party with that.
I don't know, that's a question for Pete. I don't know if he's ready. No, that'd be fun. That'd be
I think he's scared.
No, it's awesome. I know Pete wouldn't be scared of it. He's probably saying to himself right now, I'll go out there and kick everyone's butts. Oh, he's saying maybe SLRC. All right, you guys got to convince him to do SLRC then.
I think it's a great idea. Pete, run SLRC with us.
That would be fun. And I think he'll realize after running that he doesn't want to sell his car because it's awesome.
Does look pretty awesome.
So on the topic of all the buggies, so the buggy you have right now, this is your first actual rock crawling buggy you had, right?
Correct.
So out of all the buggies that you've seen, what do you think your favorite buggy that you've even been around has been?
Wow, that is a tough question.
There's a lot of variety, especially on the East Coast.
That there is. I think the Dickies Redden car, the trail one, is set up just about as perfect as it gets. That thing seems to do things that defy gravity.
Yeah.
So I know, like, driver-wise, he is stellar, and that's just going to get better as he gets more experience. But to be doing what he does now already, that thing, it looks good.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, when you look at the podium, JHF stuff is always up there. So you can't be too upset either with a nice Jesse buggy either. I love the single seater stuff. I know Mandy, my girlfriend, would probably prefer a 2-seater possibly. Because I know she enjoys taking photos and videos of it, I think. But I think she would like to get a firsthand experience of what it's like to be inside when we do some of the things that we get to do. Or at that point, she might tell me to sell it and get a 1-seater because she's done with it. That's a possibility too.
Yeah. My mom, she was at the first event, like not even a competition. The first time my mom went rock crawling with my dad, she went out and like as soon as they got to the trail, my dad rolled over like 5 times and they had to go home. She was like, well, that's it?
That's what you guys do?
And when my dad got his 2-seater, West Virginia last year for X-Rock, my mom was out with us and went trail riding one day in the 2-seater, and she was like, yeah, I don't need to do that anymore.
What was that famous Reading when you took that little spill there? I happened to be next to your mom, and I saw every emotion that a human being has in 15 seconds, from the oh my God, he is going down, I am terrified, to you land it and drive away, to sheer ecstatic ecstasy that she is like, and he's still going. And I was just like, that was incredible to see that display in 15 seconds. So yeah, I could appreciate that.
I'm glad that she wasn't there for Tennessee, because like 5 times that she wouldn't have been too excited about. But yeah, there's the buggies that are out there. There are so many different rigs that all work so good, and it's hard to find a balance of what you want to do. It's for trail wheeling. I mean, there's obviously stuff that the single seaters can do that the 2-seaters can't, just because of the weight and theBut if comfortability, getting in a 2-seater, being able to have a trail car, it's a lot of different things that go into play with it. I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah, just technology and geometry makes the biggest differences. Yeah, I mean, I have the old technology and not amazing geometry, and I love it. So I can only imagine what you guys get to do with something a little bit newer, a little bit nicer. And, maybe I can test drive one of these of somebody's sooner than later. That would be great as well. I hardly roll ever. So it'll usually come back in the same shape that it leaves. So we got that going for us.
Yeah. I know these new cars are incredible. I know from going in the old buggies that I was in to the Jesse Haynes Moon buggy and being around all of them, it's incredible how everything just has developed over the past few years. I mean, I'll drive 10 feet with one tire, like 5 feet in the air, and I'm just like, yeah, it'll do this. It just does it. I mean, it's like, it doesn't care.
Nick, yes, we did lay it on the side. Nick was spotting for me at the last SLRC comp. Nickelodeon, my buddy, we met at famous Reading as well from Lucky 13 Motorsports. And we came up with the executive decision with less than 30 seconds left just to hammer down and see what happens. And decided to take a nap on the course, but that's all right. We still got the gate. So that's all that mattered at the end of the day. And it only took the guys half an hour to winch us out of there. If we had somebody from Mother's Recovery, we might have been able to get out a little quicker, but we just had to use Jeeps.
That's usually what it comes down to.
Is that why he took first place?
No, he's been having a stellar year. Nick's been killing it at SLRC. He's been killing it at We Rock. I finally have a chance to beat him in New Hampshire because he's not going to be there. So I have a fighting shot at that one. I swear, though, if he flies in and borrows somebody's buggy, we might have words. But yeah, Nick's been killing it.
So, what are your plans, Brian, for next season coming up? So, obviously, we have a We Rock event and an X Rock event in the next couple weekends. And what are your plans for next year?
Too soon to tell. Lots of time in the garage, I'm sure, with all the rigs. Everything needs some sort of upgrade and updating, and repair season is right around the corner for us. I would definitely love to keep competing the schedule that we're competing now. It is getting a little chaotic running back-to-back weekends. So like a week in between would be nice in case something catastrophic happened and we broke, but we don't make the schedules. Just trying to get out there, be the best we could be, possibly increase the car capability. As I said, the driver mod is not available now, so we'll do the vehicle mod and see where that pans out.
Yeah, I mean, how long have you been in your buggy right now? A couple years, was it?
This will be my second season with it.
So you haven't even been in it for a long time. You're probably just getting to the point where you're really understanding what it wants to do.
That is absolutely the truth. Over the winter, Hans and I had quite a few discussions about geometry and et cetera, and steered me down a couple paths of lowering the buggy down. I got some new reds and some Raceline wheels from Jeremy Ingram, and we got about 4 inches wider. So the stability has changed immensely. The traction has changed. Reds aren't even close to broken in yet. They've only have 8 competitions on them, so not many miles. So I feel they're still getting better. Starting to learn some tricks about people putting water in the tires. I mean, that was new to me a couple years ago. We were at Roush Creek, and I can't remember who broke a complete hub assembly off the vehicle, and they were bringing a mini excavator out. I'm like, for what? They're like, to get the tire. I'm like, just roll the thing off. And they're like, it's filled with water. It weighs like 600 pounds. I'm like, what? This is a thing. So, we tried it last comp. We added some water to it. Definitely seemed to help the stability even further. So, yeah, it's been fun learning from everybody who's, taking me under their wing and kind of giving me some insight that, probably has been around for a while, but don't really tell the newbies because, why would you want them to compete with you? But yeah, a couple of the older bucks are helping me out and teaching me a thing or two. Crap,
Yeah.
I'm one of the older bucks.
Yeah. I'm watching Pete and my dad go back and forth right now. I see Pete asked how wide the SLRC gates are, which is a good question. And my dad said 90 inches because that's how wide Pete's buggy is. That's pretty wide. But the thing is going to be awesome. How wide? Do you guys know how wide the SLRC gates are?
I don't.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't even know how rock gates are. I don't even know if there is a set width for them.
I think it's an educated guess depending on the terrain.
I think that might be true. I know that I think the Unlimited in We Rock is like 101, 102. Oh, Carrier Pine said 101 to 120 width.
That's a credible source. I'll go with that guy.
All right, Pete. So if it's at 101, you're going to have about 5 inches on each side of your car. Oh, We Rock's 102. All right.
And sometimes it's a game of inches.
Yeah. It's as much as Rock isn't usually a game of cone dodging. there has been a few gates in the past few events that you definitely watch out. I mean, it wasn't as bad at all on this last event, but I know that the first event that they had, there was quite a few gates that were cone dodging.
Some of the stuff that they set for us at Good Evening Ranch was very, very tight, very, very technical.
Yeah, I know that when we were there a couple years ago, I had took the wrong line dropping off something, and I was about to hit the cone. I turned my tire, and my whole buggy just off to the side. And I landed it, and I drove the rest of the course. But there's a few spots that get you, like this past, or not this past one, the first event of this season in the PA. There was definitely a number of cone dodgy events there. He says the vast majority of SLRC gates are 108 inches or wider. That's not bad.
So we got plenty of room for Pete to sneak through there.
Oh, he'll be fine.
I mean, what's the degree of turning on that one?
He has a chance.
40, 50?
I don't know. Knowing Pete, probably a lot. I'm really not sure. He is smart about how he does everything. Very, very smart. So I'm sure he's making it do as much as it can. I mean, I know the thing looks mean. Sounds good.
Well, he's got a couple of weeks to get a front drive shaft, and
He has it laying there, like part on his skid plate and like part on a bench by his front axle, I think. It's like it's laying in place. He just has to put it together. Oh, 50 degrees front and rear, Pete said.
all right, that's pretty serious for a rig.
Yeah. I know mine is 45, which is like really like 43. I know my dad has 50. The biggest thing, for people who don't know, the biggest way you could tell is whenever someone has RCVs, a lot of people are running U-joints, but to tell the people with RCVs, normally it's the people who have the orange boots. Those are the 50 degrees of steering. And then the black boots are 45. And I'm not even sure how to really be able to look at it and tell on the U-joints. Learning.
The more you know.
So I remember we were talking about you in competition earlier, and I forget who you said was flying out for a while. Who's for you in SLRC?
So for SLRC, I have had my normal spotter, Tyler Nicchioni, and also Nick Alone has spotted for me. When we started planning the season out, we were planning SLRC only. So we started taking vacation accordingly. Then we got this wild hair to throw We Rock into the mix. So vacation time was used up for other events. So we had to shift on the fly. So luckily, everyone's been very nice and willing to help me out, getting me through some cones at whatever competition we've been at. So not quite sure how that plays out with statistics and whatnot of, finishing in placement where, Nick may or may not have got me on my side to make sure he secured the win or not. But, we'll just have to chalk that up to, I love the guy and there's no chance that he would do that to me.
Yeah, no chance he would do that.
Right. I know the hardware, when it says number 1 on it, just looks that much better.
So when you don't have to make it for yourself when you get home.
Right. I mean, when it's on the wall, no one asks any questions. It's just I have to take them down when any of the Wheeling family comes over. I have to hide those ones just because they know. And yes, Nick is correct. That last gate was what was needed to grab podium.
you've been wheeling in SLRC and your rock crawler for 2 years. Was it 2 years before that you were in the TJ? You said.
Correct.
So is that as long as you've been in the off-roading world? Was just those 4 years?
Um, as I would like to say, in the
Rock crawling.
rock crawling world as we know it, yes. I have, gone out, hit the trails prior to that. We went out to, we wheeled in Moab, we wheeled in Colorado, and that was pretty cool, great experience. And nothing holds a candle to what Hans and Eric puts us through on the weekly basis. When I first started talking to Hans a few years ago, 3 years ago, might have been our first year, he said that the biggest thing that stuck with me is you're going to learn more wheeling 1 year competitively than 10 years of rec wheeling, and it's the truth. Some of those gates that they were putting us through, even our first competition, if I saw that on a trail, I would look at it and be like, pretty cool, drive around it, move about my day. You set the cone up, it's no holds bar now. You got to put it through the cones and do what you can. So it definitely pushed us. And, I learned so much from, coming out, watching you guys. One of the best things I love was combining the two, X-Rock and SLRC. Lets us get out there and watch and, pick a line in our head that we would run and then watch you guys pick something different that works. And we're like, oh yeah, that seems more wise. And, just over the last 3-4 years, line picking has changed dramatically. Also because we now know what the rigs are capable of. We know where we fall over. We know how far we could push it to get through where we need to get through.
So my dad's saying, it really sounds like you got to be coming on our 30 trip with us this year out west.
Man, I would absolutely love that.
That's what you're really saying. You got to come out for that month with us, really get to know the car, go around wherever we're going.
Man, 30 days is a heck of a long time for me to miss work. What is it, February? When is the big trip?
He'll write you a note.
If you've met my boss, it's not going to help.
Oh, yeah. Dad writes a pretty mean note.
I would wholeheartedly love to make
Ask
part
Steve
of that.
Milano. Ask Steve Milano's wallet.
So it is February. We're going to King of the Hammers, and we stop at a few other places on the way back. But that trip's amazing. We just stop at all of our favorite places that we can on the way, because while we're already out there, might as well.
30 days of cigars and Hawaiian shirts. I don't think I could even handle 30 days of cigars and Hawaiian shirts, but I would love to try. That's for sure. I'm definitely going to shortlist King of the Hammers this year. 30 days, probably not. 10, 14 might be reasonable. So you might be able to enjoy my company for half the time.
If you can just get out there at all, it's an amazing experience, and we'll get out and run some fun stuff, because I've been going out to King of the Hammers for like 6 or so years, and my dad's been going out there for a while, and all the guys we go and hang out with have been going out for a long time, and we just run some fun stuff. We go out, and every year we seem to find new stuff, whether we're making a new trail or we're just finding a new trail that we're never seen this one before. We go and run it, and it's an amazing trip. Yeah, I really hope you can get out.
Yeah, it will be very, very fun time, and I promise I will definitely do my best to make that work. February, luckily enough, is kind of my slow season at work. We're coming off the Christmas rush. We're not quite to spring yet where everybody's getting their nice cars out. So usually I have a little lull there that would be great to fill it with some wheeling.
Yeah, so you said you went to Moab. How much have you wheeled out west?
So it was through work that I had a customer that was just like, "Hey, man, I'd like to go to Moab." I go, "I kind of want to go to Moab too." And he's like, "We should go." And I'm like, "That sounds like a great plan." And somehow it just worked. Um, Two, great ideas that we had, and we made it stick. And another customer came in. He goes, "Hey, we want to run Colorado," and it was like 2 weeks from the Moab trip. So I'm like, "Well, perfect. I'll kind of be out there." So we ended up leaving Goldilocks at buddies that we met out there. He allowed us to leave the trailer and the Jeep out there. We didn't do any damage. Left her out there for a couple weeks, came home to Ohio, took care of what we had to, and went back out. Moab was great. I loved it was intimidating at first. I'm sitting there looking at all these real steep ascents, and I'm like,
What
oh,
a plan.
right. I'm like, no doubt, 4 low, locked. That's my only hope. Yeah, 2-wheel drive crawls right up. You're like, oh, slick rock is actually incredibly sticky. So this is a whole different experience than Colorado, everything being slimy and similar to kind of East Coast a little bit. It was a little more, slippery in Colorado. But yeah, we saw the, top of the world. We got up there accidentally at night after my buddy was showing off and broke halfway up the trail. So set us a couple hours behind, and and instead of turning around like wise people would, we went to the top for sunset and figured out how to get down. Luckily, light bar and lockers. So I was able to traverse down well. He only had lockers, so
Hardcore, man. Got a light bar. I saw some guy driving around the other day with, guess how many light bars he had? He had 3 light bars. That's like, dude. That's
how is he not competing with you guys?
I know, he should be.
Or he would just take the money every time, and you can't be having that.
It is. They just know that they're gonna win because they have all those
Right.
light. So they just
There probably is a rule that Hans has written down deep in one of the things that, yeah,
a certain amount of light bars.
right. You're just automatically out. We don't have enough rock for you.
So I've been to Colorado 3 or so times, I think. Not for the Trevor event, but just when we would go out west, we'd stop back there on the way back. And I've heard that it's very, like, the traction obviously is that sandstone, very similar. But I've always wanted to go to Moab just because it's an iconic place.
It truly is. And the wheeling, once you've done what you've done and accomplished, it's going to be probably a little lackluster. So, go grab something on 33s and have some fun out there. But yeah, just to say you did it is, they're wholeheartedly worth it. This beautiful views. It's amazing out there. People are mostly friendly. Yeah, it's a great time. A couple things left on my bucket list out in Moab to accomplish, so I'll have to make that journey at least one more time. Nick, yeah, grabbing a rental next time. That's a very, very good choice to, instead of trailering something 24 hours out there, borrow a rental. They have some very nice equipped Rubicons and stuff that you could rent that are pretty reasonable. Go out with a Moab Cowboy. He's got a couple side-by-sides that are pretty sweet.
So you said you still have a few bucket list trails you want to hit there. Where are some bucket list places in general that you want to go out and go wheeling?
Going back to iconic Rubicon Trail, I just have to do it. John Sherwin, 906 Rooted, he went out there with Bjorn, and they absolutely loved it. So that's 100% on the list. Getting out to King of the Hammers, that's another one. Like, that's just looking at the videos, Hammer Town, at night. Heck yeah, that's sweet. getting out to Sand Hollow, watching everyone go up those near vertical cracks. That's insane. I don't know if I'll partake, but I would watch you guys for sure go up there and take sweet video from the ground. Man, the list is long and distinguished, but I think those would be top three of what needs to happen. Texas got some pretty sweet stuff down in Mason. I think you guys actually hit that on the way home from your Hammers trip. So that's shortlisted for our turkey trot. A couple of my buddies, we go out the week before Thanksgiving and hit up some trails. So Texas is one of the places that we are considering going for a few days. So
yeah, that's a really fun place. They have some. We went to Wolf Caves. I know there's a couple different places right around there. We went to Wolf Caves, and they have some crazy stuff there. And it's crazy to think that the traction there, a lot of the parts, was better than Sand Hollow is in some of its best parts. It's weird, but it's a totally different terrain. But the traction is still like, don't front dig, or else you're gonna break your car in half.
That's got to be the weirdest feeling, knowing what we know about the rocks out here and just transplanting somewhere else, that traction becomes not an issue.
You go out there, and when you're coming from where we are, and you have to have your tire left and right while you're on the gas, just trying to find traction, you pull up on something over there, and it just goes right up, just holds the line, just keeps you on it. I mean, granted, there are some places there that when they get run a lot and they're really like eaten out and torn down, then it really gets slick there. But for the most part, the traction's insane. That's why you see all of the crazy videos from out in Sand Hollow, because they do have crazy terrain. But the reason they can go up those walls like that, if you were trying to go up those cracks that they were doing there with rocks from over here, it just wouldn't happen. But over there, it just sticks. You go right up.
That's got to be awesome.
I remember a couple years ago when I was out there, we were out with Matt Jory and Dave Long and a few other guys, and there was this obstacle called King's Crack, I think it was, and it was just so intimidating there because it was my first time out there in my buggy, and I was just looking at it like, what is this? This is crazy. I remember running the trail that it's off of the year before in my old buggy that was a 99-inch wheelbase drag axle. I'm like, who is going up that? And we got to it, and I'm like, oh. And I made Dave Long go first because I was too scared to go up it first. And not being a huge deal because the traction out there is just insane. It's that once you go out there, you're going to be like, what am I doing back here on the East Coast?
Yeah, that is definitely, one for the books we'll have to put together as well. No doubt. I would love to experience that, just the stuff that the videos show, because we all know the videos don't do it justice. Yeah. And it looks ridiculous in the video. So it's got to be incredible to see what they're actually doing.
I mean, they're climbing up 30-foot cracks with a straight drop off on the other side, almost undercut. You're hanging a tire off of it, and I mean, it's insane. I know I'm going to be going out there for the actual Trail Hero event for the LCQ for Trailbreaker, and I hope that I can get some wheeling in with all those guys that live out there and go wheel out there all the time, because I want them to show me a few things, and I'm sure I could learn a lot from them.
When is the LCQ Trailbreaker?
I think that's October, maybe. I'm pretty sure, like early October it might be.
So it might not be brutally hot out there?
No, I think it probably is still brutally hot.
Oh, okay.
I think it usually is.
It's
like
end of September, beginning of October.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense now.
getting used to being able to stop and make a sandwich in the middle of a climb, then continue on your way. Definitely takes some getting used to.
Yeah, that sums it up. Yeah.
So where else do you want to go? What else do you have? What haven't you done yet that you want to do?
I mean, I want to wheel everywhere that there's wheeling, right? But I know there's a lot of, I mean, really, the places that I've been already are the places I want to go back to, like King of the Hammers, Johnson Valley, Sand Hollow, Texas. Mostly Sand Hollow and King of the Hammers, though, because there are so many trails there that I've never seen or heard of. I know I was talking to. Sorry, I'm tired. I know I was talking to Dave Cole, and he was like, "Have you run this, that, and that?" And I'm like, "I've never heard of any of these trails." And I'm seeing all the videos of everyone breaking in the new trails at Sand Hollow, and I want to get out there and run them. And those are really anywhere new that I want to go, anywhere that there's rock crawling. But really, where I want to go more than anywhere new is Sand Hollow, Johnson Valley, and just do a bunch of those new trails out there.
I love the parks that are, I don't know if you'd even call them parks, the areas that are large enough to keep adapting like that. You have, up by us, everything is, kind of small. It is what it is. There's not much more new land to gather around it. Hollyoaks isn't terribly far from us, a couple 4 hours in Michigan. They're, trying to grab more land up. And they have some terrain out there that is pretty gnarly that I know there's been some talks about maybe putting on an event in that area if they can get enough material in, because a lot of the stuff is also man built. They do a lot of like shotcrete work up there, kind of like how Roush built those courses. So they started doing that. So that's pretty cool that places are still adapting, but to get into the larger areas where Sand Hollow, I'm sure there's so many thousands of acres undiscovered still that it's just got to be, you turn the corner and then holy cow, there's another crevasse that we can drive through and see if we can make it.
I mean, you see some of that stuff, you're just like, who thought to go through that? I mean, we're going through it now, but who originally saw it and said, yeah.
If we cut those 6 trees down, we can go through those 7 boulders over there.
That's the thing over here. You go out to Sand Hollow, you don't have to worry about any of that. It's all open. You just go. But that stuff just amazes me. I know around here, back when at AOAA, they used to cut all the trails that they had there. Way back in the day, not way back in the day. I say that like it was a long time ago, like I'm an old man. Back when I was little, my dad was always one of the guys invited to go and break the new trails. So most of the hard trails that they have around here, we were the ones who were there breaking them. And I don't know, it's just hard to find more stuff without cutting all of it down.
So you got the delicate dance of deforestation, but opening up more playland for us.
Yeah. And that's also, we used to do that with Hans. He would always invite everyone to go out and break the new trails. Hans obviously now does X-Rock, so I've known him for as long as I could remember. I've been around him because we were out breaking the trails and everything. So it's really
You
cool
have
to be.
a plaque, right, for breaking in one of the trails at AOAA?
Yeah, for the Mammoth one. I think this is it. I put it up behind me because it takes up a lot of space and it looks cool. But yeah, that's the one for the Mammoth. I had Super Swampers on there. That was the old setup. Super Swampers, totally clear panels. Yeah, that was a fun one. That was a lot of work.
So I was actually there that day.
Were you?
Yeah, I briefly met you and Danny there, probably midway up the trail. I actually took a photo of, I think it was Danny stacking on you, and then we watched for probably an hour, watching you guys navigate through there, and then we went out and hit the trails a little further. We actually were with Eric that day, so he was trail guiding us around AOAA.
Yeah, that was an interesting spot. It's definitely hard. I mean, it's got holes in there that swallow your buggy whole. But I did it once. I don't feel like I have to do it again because it's something that's very stressful on the mind and on the cars. Obviously, most people that go on it break. I was lucky enough that when I went on it, I had good parts and I was smart enough to not wedge myself in anywhere too bad. I had one time where I fell in a hole and the rock was coming in and hitting my fan as it was going around. Got out of there. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah, it's definitely a mammoth. They nailed that one. Yeah, because there was I can't remember who the other gentleman was. There was a guy going spotterless through there, coming up behind you guys, and watching him work through all of that, where he'd get up onto something and then he'd fall into a crevasse and then he would almost disappear, and then a few minutes later he'd be crawling back out of it, and I was just like, yeah, that's intense. I'm gonna take the TJ and go hit some blues and greens.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff. I mean, everywhere around the country, there's always wheeling because there's as much as the sport isn't Ultra 4 or dirt bikes, there's always people who want to do it all over. And X-Rock is starting to get more and more out there for the public, and especially on the East Coast where it's not as popular. You want some hardcore rock crawling and you think you're the best there is, this is where you come and prove it. So, yeah.
Yeah, Hans for sure can set up a gnarly course for you guys. He has yet to disappoint on that portion of it. And to see him, like some of the stuff that he even sets up and then you guys still do it, is even more mind blowing to me. I still look at a lot of things this day and I'm just like, nah, and somebody will do it. I'm like, all right. Cam got through that one crack that swallowed Caliph in there. I can't remember. Did you get up in there as well? I know Danny had to get winched out of there.
I didn't even try that one. I went around it.
I saw him enter it, and unfortunately, I wasn't on the other side to see him come out until I saw the video, and I was just like, that was impressive to see him get through it, and then also almost knock over that giant boulder. He did a lot of landscaping that weekend, but he definitely put on quite the show.
That's one thing, Cam, you can't take away from Cam. He did a hell of a job. He drove his ass off, drove a bunch of boulders off the cliffs, and took home 10 grand.
Yeah, now me and one of my dad for not track yet.
You might have strategically moved a couple boulders into your way.
He most definitely.
So you guys, you're talking about like Johnson Valley and KOH, and being like one of your things that you want to like try all the different trails. Next week, we are having Dave Cole from King of the Hammers Ultra 4. He's going to come on. He drove all the way out from California to our last Chaos, our West Virginia event at Chaos Offroad Park. And yeah, he's going to come and join us next week. So we'll get to have some good conversation with Dave Cole. It'll be fun.
Yeah. I remember he's awesome. We always go and we hang out with him for a little bit at King of the Hammers. I walked in last year to their little container where they have like the operations. he didn't recognize me. He was just looking at me. And then when he realized it was me, he was like, I was about to throw you out of here. He's fun. I was really awesome that he came out to the event. That was really cool to see him, and I'm glad he stuck around for it.
He slept 14 hours straight. Like I think he went to bed Friday night at like 6 or 7, and he texts me in the morning saying, I just woke up. I'm on my way. He's like, I'm ready to go and I'm ready to party. I got 14 hours of sleep. I'm good.
I have yet to see an Ultra 4 race in person, so that's also on the to-do list.
Yeah, if you get out to King of the Hammers with us, it's definitely something to go out in the morning and watch the lineup of racers take off. I mean, you're out there with all 600 to 800 horsepower rigs that are just fully built, just hearing the chop going down the lines. It's so loud.
They're in the works to bring Ultra 4 back to Pennsylvania too.
That would be cool.
Next year.
I know they just had it wasn't an Ultra 4 race. It was that like 12 hours of Appalachia or something, that race. And I'm pretty sure Eric Miller won that one. So that was pretty awesome.
And shout out to Eric Miller for showing up to the X-Rock event at Chaos too. He got to walk that first course with you. It was awesome to see the two of you.
Yeah, I messaged him before the event. I think it was when we got there. It might have been like the day before or a couple days before. I messaged him. I was like, how far away are you from Chaos Off-Road Park? He was like, about an hour and a half. I was like, well, if you want, there's a rock crawling competition going on. And that's cool that he got to come down and watch it all. Because he started out in rock crawling and obviously steered towards the Go Fast Ultra 4 side of things and does very well in it. I mean, everyone knows. But it was cool that he was able to come back to it.
Famous Reading, 12 hours. All right, that's close enough to pop in for that one if that happens again.
I believe it's for the 2025 schedule.
No, I got plenty of time to plan for it.
Yeah.
Trying to look to see if we covered everything. We covered your business and our sponsorships. We covered, I am supposed to relay. Little Charlie's sister was supposed to surprise you and hop on and kind of tease you a little bit about kicking your butt last year at Field and Forest. Her first competition ever, and she took second place. Huge shout out to Charlie's big sister. However, she has an animal rescue and stuff like that, and she's dealing with animals right now.
I figured she was out in the garage prepping for the rematch at Field and Forest.
There's not much that has to be done to the two-seater right now. I think we got I don't think there's anything that has to be done to it. It's sitting in the trailer because we can't fit it in the garage, the other two buggies. So we just like swap them in and out. So the two-seater is sitting in the trailer, ready to go and kick butt. And
can you fit all three buggies in the trailer though?
No, but we can get another trailer.
Yeah, that didn't sound like a no that she's not going to compete in Field and Forest. Is there something you want to tell us?
That's not something that I know anything about. I know that we talked about it because we want her to, but she kind of has like a job. She's got like adult stuff that she has to do. But
I hear your dad is great at writing these notes.
Yeah.
So I think that problem solves itself.
Yeah, that would be really cool if she can come out again, though, because I know she had fun last time.
Yep, I learned how to use rear steer. Should be a good time this year.
Yeah, she had almost no seat time in the car. She drove it out at Trail Hero when my dad got the car for a few days, and then nothing else really before that competition. Just went right into it. And not like there's super easy stuff that you guys are having to run through on SLRC. It's still challenging gate.
Yeah, that course was very, very special that they set up at Field and Forest for us. I think one of the courses, the one we started on, I think the best somebody did was 3 gates.
Was that the top course that you
That
guys?
was the top course.
Yeah, I remember that. That was.
Yeah, we had a couple rollovers. Gosh, I can't remember the gentleman's name from Crazy Cruisers.
Rich Earnhardt.
It wasn't Rich.
No?
It was the buggy that Nick got.
It was Bob Lopez.
Not Bobby. It's the other one.
Right?
What was that?
It was in
Dave
the
Wong.
No. Nick should just chime in and let us know. But yes, he went over backwards a couple times and Tim Powers, there we go, and landed right in front of us at the spectator line. Like, we just did not see that one coming, and we're just like, oops, like that one got a little bit away from us. And first time I've seen someone have to use a fire extinguisher on course. So that was exciting as well. Well, I guess it was off course technically, but luckily we keep them at start gates and everything now. So
yeah, that's why fire extinguishers all over the buggies, and obviously, like you said, they all keep fire extinguishers right at the beginning of the gates, because if something happens, you got to be able to get to everyone.
Yeah, too much money in these things to let them get too damaged.
I got a question before I'm almost done. So, what would you tell someone that's getting into rock crawling? Like, what suggestions would you give them? Just don't do it because there's too much in it.
Yeah, unless you could literally light a pile of $100 bills on fire, this is probably not for you. It's basically, it's kind of what I tell my customers. Like, I always ask them what the end game is. Let's figure out where you want to be at the end of the day. Because 9 out of 10 people, they want a 10-inch lift with 40s and go wheeling. I'm like, that doesn't work. You roll over instantly in a gust of wind. I've done it. I know. I've learned from my mistakes. We all start somewhere. So start within your means. Don't hop into that $100,000 buggy right off the rip. Wait a couple years at least. Start with something, that you don't mind thrashing on. Don't do a daily driver. That's another one. When my guys are like, oh yeah, I'm going to build my daily to go wheeling. I'm like, that's a poor decision on your part. We have to go to work the next day. But it's addicting. It is. Once you get the bug, I wish that I would have got into a buggy much sooner. For sure. I love it that much. Knowing what I know now, if I could have done this a decade ago, I would have jumped at the opportunity. But, we have to learn. So we spend money on what we have. And, but if we didn't get rid of street class, I might not have ever made that jump. So, I might have just kept battling it out with the TJ and been a lifer in the street class and, see what happens. But I'm glad that things evolved the way they evolved, and I'm at where I'm at now.
Yeah.
So
the evolution part, that's what Nathan Kaufman just said. It's an evolution. He came from a big old with big Mickey Thompsons on it. Now he has a Matt Cutler car. Or you could do what Pete said. Pete said just get a dad that knows how to spend money poorly. That works too.
Yes, having something having the ability to have some expendable cash is definitely a bonus in this sport. That is for sure.
And I see John Miller is asking, any word on running the new layout at Field and Forest?
Yeah, that's going to be almost a game day decision for Hans, I'm guessing. I don't know if has Hans set eyes yet on the new portion of Field and Forest.
I don't know. I've
He,
heard
I
about
don't.
it.
He not like right in person eyes, but I know that the Rhode Island Trail Slayers, we talked about it. They have been busy cutting in some new terrain, and it's supposed to be pretty gnarly. That Hans is going to be checking it out to see if we could utilize any of that for the event.
I'm sure as long as it scores an 11 out of 10, Hans will use it for the competition.
Yeah, so I think that's about all the questions that I have right now. I'm sure I could. You give me a couple more hours, I could think of about a million more questions to ask you, but that'll be for another time. So
All right. What else do we got?
So,
Anything from the peanut gallery?
well, Hans is saying that they're working on cutting in the next 3 weekends. And then John Miller is saying that he's seen parts of it and it's absolutely gnarly. So that could bring some pretty interesting comp courses.
hopefully it doesn't rain again like the last few years.
It's New Hampshire. It's going to
Every year.
rain. So
Let's
I
just
haven't
thank
been
God.
to a Field and Forest event that it hasn't rained.
At least we're not on Mud Mountain. I don't know if you remember that show, but I'm happy that Field and Forest trumped that one.
Yeah. I don't know. When was that?
That would have been 3 or 4 years ago. It was
That
right before we went to Field and Forest, the year before Field and Forest.
Yeah, so I wasn't around then for that. I wasn't in competition scene then. But that's it. By the name of it, doesn't sound fun.
Yeah. They said like the days leading up to it, people were running it, no issues, and it rained for 2.5 days. And yes, Hans, I definitely had some choice words from that competition. There was 2 starting gates. I believe I didn't make it through. So yeah, it was pretty rowdy.
That's the one where the parking lot and camp area was even like on like a hill almost, right?
Yes. Yep. And then the gentleman with the airbags on the what is that rig that he has? He rolled over on the first course, and that was a pretty gnarly spill. So that got into our heads immediately. That 2 gates into it, the guy was already on his lid a couple times. So yeah, us rookies, it would have been 4 years ago because that was like our second comp or something. So we were on the borderline of scared. I'm like, well, this is. And we couldn't not go through the gates because we had the old scoring at that point. So we still had to do the progression. So yeah, we were forced to go through the death-defying stunt. But probably looking back at it now, like if we went to the same course, it probably is a 2 out of 10 because now we know how to drive probably. But
We hope
we won't admit that to Hans.
Well, guys, I think we should wrap it up. What do you think?
I think I've covered about everything I have right now. Just before we go, I'd like to thank some people that have helped me along the way for helping me get here and do what I'm doing. First off, I'd like to thank my dad for helping me with the buggy. teaching me how to rock crawl and everything. X Rock and Tiffany for having me on here to help out. Brian, you coming on with us. Always great talking to you. And also, I have some sponsors and marketing partners I'd like to thank. Tom Woods Drive Shafts, been with my family for longer than I've been alive. There's a reason we use them, and we never have to worry about our drive shafts breaking. JM Rigging Supply, who's also a sponsor of X Rock, Jim Markham. Jesse Haynes Fabrication, maker off-road products, Battleborn Wheels, Radflow Shocks, Brannick Motorsports, Badlands Off-Road Park, and Grind Coffee. All these people help us in some way or another get to be able to do what we're doing, and I can't thank everyone enough.
Absolutely. And Brian,
well said. I want to thank you guys for having me on here. It was great. Didn't know exactly what to expect. Time flew by, more so than I thought it would. So that was awesome. I appreciate everything you guys do. A lot of credit doesn't go out to everything that's happening in the back. Nobody knows the course setup, the processes of talking to the landowners, getting everything organized. A lot of times we kind of take that for granted. We don't see everyone going out there a week, 2 weeks before. These guys are out there 3 weeks getting the trails ready for us to come, compete for 2 days. They are spending weeks upon weeks to let us play for 2 days. Not enough credit is given to everyone behind the scenes. So thank you guys for putting this on. I'm getting a little more taste of it helping Eric out on the SLRC side. So yeah, I can see the logistical nightmares that come up when people have full-time jobs and still trying to put this on for little to no compensation. So you guys rock. You're the real rock stars who put this on. Keep setting it up. We'll keep trying to drive through it. If we can't drive through it, we'll put on a show, flop it on its side. And, people tend to, remember that more so than the guy who made the climb anyways. You get 8 hits if you climb it. You get 800 hits if you roll it. So we know how that works.
Yeah.
So I appreciate everybody who's involved in this. And thank you for letting us have so much fun competing, my little family away from my family. You guys rock.
absolutely. And we want to thank people like you, Brian, being a sponsor. Without you, and I'm going to rattle off like Jim Markham of JM Rigging, Stan and Brandon of Brannick Motorsports, Jesse of Jesse Haynes Fabrication, Eric Amato of Radial Dynamics, Jeremy Ingram, 386 Fab, Wheeling for Warriors. We have a bunch of people from the New England coming and representing for them, one being Cam Glennon, one of our drivers, Black Bear Electric, Mother's Off-Road Recovery Motorsports, Leah Hockman of She Crawls, and Kincaid Fabrication. Without you guys, we would not be able to be doing what we're doing. You help us put on 3 events this year to give $10,000 away to the first place winner. Little Charlie knows how that wonderful check feels. And
my dad knows how it feels. I know.
He at least let you hold it for a minute, right? Oh, man.
But no, thank you guys. And Little Charlie, thank you for coming back on, co-hosting with me. Next week, guys, we are going to mix things up. I'm going to have a different co-host, guest / co-host. I'm going to have Han Shear join me with Dave Cole. And we're going to have some good, fun, interesting conversations. So, guys, you're not going to want to miss that talk. We have a bunch to talk about. We're going to get Dave's take on what his first time being back into a competition scene was like, and, have some other good conversations. So make sure you tune in next week, and we will be back shortly. All right.
All right. I'll see you.
Thank you. Good night, guys.
Bye.
Night, everyone.